Friends, take a breath with us. We are not just pressing play on a podcast, we are sitting in the same room, hearts beating at the same tempo. For this conversation, we are holding three threads that many of us juggle daily: mental health, entrepreneurship, and the disciplined lifestyle it takes to build something that lasts. Our guest, Yusef Mista Yu Marshall, is a high performance coach, ordained minister, best selling co author of Born to Risk, second edition, and the voice behind multiple shows under the They Call Me Mr. You brand. He is a husband, father, grandfather, and a builder of strong families and communities. He has conversion stories that literally changed his life's direction and a track record of turning service into leadership. So, this episode on BizBlend isn't about performance, listeners. It is about presence. If something he says lands with you, nod, jot it down, breathe in it, and we are here to learn in real time. So, Mr. Yu, welcome to the show, and it is really an honor to have you here with us.
Oh, Sana, thank you for having me on. I'm already excited about this. Thanks for doing this today.
Thank you, Mr. Yu. Okay, so, um, yeah, I mean, we are seeing conversations around mental health, um, but from a founder perspective, let's try to explore the unedited version here. Like, Mr. Yu, when the pressure is loud and the room is quiet, what does your actual mental health practice look like? Like on the days that you don't want to do it.
And I see. I think I understand the question. It's a really good question. Right from the beginning. Great question. I think for me, it has been an evolving uh discipline for me. But what I have been learning to do is to not avoid the silence, if that makes sense. When
Mhm.
I was growing up and coming into being a young adult and being on my own and trying to grow as an entrepreneur, for me,
Mhm.
silence was scary because it was just a big empty void. I'm like, need to be able to have noise. I would turn on music. I would have something going on so that I can kind of feel like I'm okay. But in my latter years, if you will, especially in the entrepreneurship stages, I'm learning how to embrace the silence, being
Mm.
comfortable with my own thoughts. Sometimes my own thoughts were scary to me because I didn't like my own thoughts. I didn't like
Mhm.
where they would take me. So now I'm learning to sit in situations that I'm not comfortable with, things that maybe I
Mhm.
don't like, maybe things that aren't going well in my businesses, and learning how to sit in the silence and soak it in and really assess what's actually happening rather than bogging it down with a whole bunch of other variables and just being distracted for no real good reason. So for me, I mean, that might be a weird answer. I hope that it makes sense to you, but for me, just embracing the silence. That's how I've been approaching my mental health journey. It's been really good because now I'm more in touch with myself now than I ever have been as an entrepreneur, a father, grandfather, great grandfather now, and even as a person.
Absolutely. Right. It absolutely makes sense, Mr. Yu. But I would also like him to bring today's reality in here. Like now, if anyone would hear the word silence, they'll say that is not possible in today's era. Even if I want to, I won't be able to because there's endless notifications. I cannot just leave everything behind and sit in silence. Even if the notifications are switched off, my phone is, if I've dumped it in somewhere, uh, my thoughts will be loud. So, how would you advise, especially a founder or an entrepreneur, if they would like to embrace silence, practice it to kind of, ground themselves? What, how they can manage that? How they can start it?
It's a fantastic question again, son. Thank you. One of the things that I think is really critical. I know that I mainly coach solopreneurs, so people who are founders. That makes a lot of sense. I can probably speak to that. But for people who have employees, you're gonna have to learn how to delegate and really trust them to do the things that you have probably been doing all this time. Separate conversation, I think, right there. But as far as people who are challenged with switching off the noise, honestly, I can say do this and do that, but you got to be intentional about the fact, you know what? My mental health has to be a priority over the goal I had, over what I'm trying to accomplish this month, this week, and this year. Because if something happens to you as the leader of a company or leader of an effort, if something happens to you, the effort stalls. The effort doesn't go forward. So I don't want to say it's about being self-aggrandizing or being, so much about yourself that you don't think about other people, but you have to prioritize your mental health in that space. And for me, my suggestion is that you gotta be intentional about cutting the noise off. I know we got phones that have notifications and all these things, and we have television and we have podcasts like we're on right now and radio and
Yeah.
children and all kind of distractions. But at the end of the day, all we can do is the best that we can do. But I'm a firm believer that if we just do all that we can do in regards to that, that means shut the phone off, put the phone in the drawer, walk away, don't keep checking it. Stay in that zone for 30 minutes or hour, whatever it is that you need to get what you need. You can't really have the time on a commute to work because somebody's cutting you off on the road, horns are beeping, trains are passing by. It's just a lot of different distractions. And that's not really the way to have that time. You got to be intentional about it. I have clients that I share this with on multiple occasions. If you get up at 6, perhaps you get up at 5 instead. Create the time, be intentional about creating the time that you need. If you go to bed at 10, go to bed at 11 this time. Take that extra hour to get what you need because there's only one you. And without you, a lot of things won't work. They won't go. They won't be able to function and flow. So there's only one you. You got to prioritize that. So put the phone away, get away from the media and the noise and the television and the laptops. Stop doing everything you're doing and prioritize yourself. Be at peace with yourself. Get to understand who you are, hear your own thoughts, deal with those things, come face to face, come to grips with what you're dealing
Mm,
with, and deal with that stuff. I'm a big believer in journaling and writing as well, and those are things
mm,
that I implement in my everyday life as well, and they really have been therapy for me for literally my entire life, well, at least since I was 6 years old. So it's been a great therapy for me. Those are things I would implement as well. Write those thoughts and feelings down. Do that in a space where you're away from all of the noise. If you could do it before everybody wakes up or after everybody's going to sleep, then so be it. If you can go in a garage where it's quiet, do that. No noise, no external sounds, and just be one with yourself and really learn about, where you are, what you need to be working on, what you need to be dealing with, so you can kind of better handle those things once the noise turns back on, if that makes sense.
mm. I can, I think the best thing that I can say here is, you really, really, um, like put the power of you in there. Like you really articulated it so well with that, sincerity, that conviction, and that, uh, powerful, expression of you. Because absolutely, as you said, if there is no you, then there is, nothing. Like you are basically, the source, the origin of, whether it's business or your family or your anything, your own life. So I really, really appreciate the specificity in here, Mr. Yu. And you preach discipline. And, here I would like him to bring something that critics would say, that discipline culture can sometimes slide into shame and performative hustle. Um, what's your thought on this? Specifically on uh, the red line between healthy discipline and harmful legalism.
Okay, I think I understand. Uh, for me, I had to watch that because I did fall into areas of legalism in times past, just trying to be so strict with things I was doing with diet, with health, with my time, and it just
Mhm.
what it ended up doing was just driving people away from me because I became somebody that was really hard to live with. So for me, discipline has become something where I won't. beat myself up if I miss an hour in a particular book that I'm reading, or if I don't read a chapter of something I'm trying to gain, or something that's a discipline for me, whether it be healthy. Maybe if I don't walk that day, I just think about it as, you know what? This is a lifestyle. This is a marathon, not a sprint. So every day that
Exactly.
I'm doing something, I'm feeding something. I look at everything in terms of agriculture because that's just how I view the world. And these are just seeds that I'm planting. I know they got to be watered and given enough sunlight so they can potentially blossom and grow. But I make it as an intention. To hit that word again, intentional. I just try to be intentional about every day seeding what I want to receive in life, what I want to
Hmm.
see happen in life. I got to plant seeds. If it's not, you're not getting the fruit without seed. It's just not going to happen. No matter how many labs you try to work with, without seed, you're not getting any fruit. It's the starting. It's the starting and the ending process. So for me, discipline is just being intentional every day about making sure that I put in what I need to see what I can get out. And for me, it's a daily process. Do I do it every single day? Not at all. Honest, but I do it more days than not. But I hope that answered the question, because I mean, for me, discipline is such a big deal.
Mm.
It's a big deal because for me, I don't know where I would be without it.
Yeah.
Think about the times that I had uh, disciplinary issues as a young child in the
Mhm.
household, and the structure that my mom made for us. I thank God for it now, because in hindsight, as I look back, I would be in trouble. As a matter of fact, there's a good chance I might not even be here at all to talk to you, son, if it wasn't for the discipline in our household and their lifestyle. And I carried that over into my adult life. And I'm like, I did it with my children and my grandchildren. And honestly, it's been life changing. So discipline is not punishment. It's not something, you got to obey this or else. It's a guideline to help you get to the place you want to get to in life. Whether you want to be an author, whether you want to be a singer, whether you want to be a podcaster, whatever it may be, discipline is going to be a requirement for whatever you do. You want to be a doctor or a lawyer, same concept. Discipline is going to be a requirement. We're not getting around it. Discipline has been used as a dirty word in a lot of places, and the people who feel that way, if you look at their life, you can see how they missed it. You can see how limited they may be in their lives because they don't have this, or they have shunned the idea of discipline. Look at those who have implemented that in their life, whether it be an athlete, whether it be someone in politics. You could see it. They live a disciplined lifestyle, and look what they got from it. They put in the right amount of seeds, consistently done, and look what the result was. I, as a matter of fact, I believe that's the definition of success. Small things that you do consistently over time. That's success.
Yes, yes, exactly, exactly. And it is not that, someone else's success. We often measure success depending on others' expectations or validations or outcomes. But, for ourselves, once again, the power of you in there, Mr. You.
Yeah.
I think sometimes discipline, people would consider, oh, it's boredom, it's boring. I have to do all these small things every day, I'll become bored out. But I think discipline is actually very much necessary, whether it's your work, whether it's your channels, or these practices of practicing silence or journaling. Once you do that consistently, I think it kind of becomes a good addiction in there.
Absolutely. I think one thing that I want to add to this, if you don't mind, is really the idea of mental health is so important right now that I really feel like people are neglecting it. As a matter of fact, to be honest and transparent, less than 2 years ago, that was me. With all the things that I do in life, that was still me. As a matter of fact, I'll even go as far to say in the beginning of 2025, I was not prioritizing my mental health. I was busy. I had 7 or 8 different adventures that I was doing on a regular basis, and I wasn't spending time, being present for my family. I was just doing all these things, trying to achieve what I thought was some kind of success. And you wonder why you feel like you're about to crash emotionally. It's because there's no uh, there's no areas where you're replenishing, where you're kind of rebuilding yourself back up. And there's three R's that I love to use when it comes to the mental health framework: recognize, release, and replenish. Recognize all of the signals that, you know what, I'm not getting enough sleep. Signals that, you know what, I'm stressed and I don't have any way to let the stress out. All of the signals, and then release that stuff. Get rid of the ideas of trying to fulfill somebody else's dream that they put or imposed on you for years
Mm.
from years ago, and get rid of the guilt and the shame because you haven't done that. Get rid of the perfectionism in this approach that you have to try to get everything done just right, as if that's going to make some kind of great impact. So some of the most inventions that we could think of right now that have been glorious and helpful to our world were done out of imperfection. And the last one's replenish. Take time to sleep, like we talked about earlier. Take time to journal, like we discussed. Have walks. If you're gonna have a meeting, walk. Do something to free your focus and to kind of get your energy up. And I feel like we need to recognize, we need to release, and we need to replenish. Those are really important aspects to our mental health. And I think that makes sense according to what you were saying as well too.
Mm. I think that is so human, Mr. Yu. That is so human because, and definitely it's a needed nuance that there are standards, but with softness. And listeners, if you are listening and feeling called out, I think what Mr. Yu said, it could be your invitation to right size your rules. And also, Mr. Yu, um, in the heart of the stepfather, you name the weight of leading without a blueprint. What habit kept your family culture intact while you were building brands?
Yeah, that was a powerful situation that happened. I know people who are dealing with blended families right now, and not sure they even have what I was able to find right now. They're struggling in a lot of areas. There's some blended families that are doing just fine and they're thriving. Uh,
Mm.
for me, I didn't have a blueprint like you mentioned, so I didn't know what it looked like to be a father or to have a healthy marriage. So I was learning a lot on the fly, and honestly, I don't recommend that. I don't recommend that you try to mimic someone else's life either, because that could be a potentially hazardous situation as well. I just really took the time, and part of this component, Sana, is my faith. Faith was a
Mm.
big part of how I got through that situation, because basically for my wife and I, it was a war for us to
Mm.
try to create a culture where there was other people involved, outside voices that were speaking into our situation with our daughters. And it was just a lot of back and forth, and it was just a really topsy-turvy several years. The first 5 years of our marriage was might even call it nightmarish for us, because we had to go through so much strife and conflict and tension all the time. And one of the things that I tried to do, what I tried to do, because I didn't have an example, I didn't have a role model, what I tried to do was learn as much as I can. I was really
Mm.
intentional about reading things on the subject. I mean, there's no panaceas out there in books for something like that, but I tried to read as much as I can, glean as many keys and resources as possible, and on top of that, doing everything I was telling you about that I'm doing now is making sure I take the time to decompress, take the time to face what I'm dealing with, and look at what's happening. Begin to decide, okay, I need to start just setting some boundaries on what I'm going to allow and what I can allow, doing adult stuff. And I was learning that almost on the fly as a 25-year-old, trying to figure out how to manage a whole household. So I was learning about the importance of having peers and mentors who will listen to you without judgment, having an accountability circle. So beside the reading and setting boundaries in my household, setting rules and standards, things that I almost didn't even see in my household, because my household was growing up was different than that. So setting boundaries, having accountability circles, making sure I take the time to connect with my wife, have us have time together so that we can kind of encourage each other, support each other, and get away from the noise and the conflict, and make sure we continue to remind each other that we're both the most important people in this relationship, and we can't let anybody tear us up and destroy us. So it was a lot of those things. So it was just one thing, Sana. It was all those things plus some more too that kind of helped me get through that situation.
Wow. I think one thing which I certainly able to extract from what you said is specifically, around um, how the initial years really, really kind of, um, were like the make or break for your family, for your relationship with your wife. And one thing that you said is you read books, you learned. I think in these situations, when it's very easy to slip into that rabbit hole, thinking that everything is working against me, no one is able to understand me, or this particular relationship or partnership is not working out because the other person is not able to understand my struggles, and that's where the kind of that confusion, um, the frustration, it slowly, gradually, becomes instrumental to break that apart.
Mm.
But when our intention shifts to learning, um, and coming home to ourselves and understanding maybe what mistakes I am committing, what I am not able to understand here. So I think that's where things once again they start to make sense, and we try to work it out. Mr. Yu, before we wrap up, um, any boundary sentence, maybe a line or a sentence that you have actually used this month, like because you are performing so many roles in here. So, any particular boundary sentence that you would also like to share with the listeners?
Uh, there's a couple things I think would be really valuable to listeners if you don't mind me sharing it with everybody. One time, and I think I mentioned it a little bit, but I can't emphasize it enough. You gotta dedicate time to unplug. I know people know that in their minds, but I think fear, self doubt limits them from doing that. But take the time. It's not looking at screens all day. Take the time to be in, embrace the silence. Take the time to unplug. Look at, I grew the most in silence. Think about it like this. And this is the best way I can describe this example. I'm going back to agriculture again, Sana. But look at when a seed's put into the ground. You can't see it. You can't look at it. You can't touch it. You can't wiggle it around. It's in the ground, right? That's when seeds grow the most. It's in darkness. They don't grow in the light as much as they grow in the darkness. That's how I liken this to embracing the silence because we'll have more growth there than we will in a small group, in a large group, from watching television, from listening to podcasts, from letting somebody advise us on what to do. We're gonna grow more from that silence because we're gonna hear and understand things and evaluate things and assess things without distractions in a much more positive and productive way. The other thing I want to kind of share, if I can do that also, is just understanding that, you know what, even in the situations that we have in life, we feel like it's just too much.
Mm,
I think we need to evaluate why we do what we do. Why do we
mm,
start this? I know so many people, some people who are clients, people who are not clients of mine, and I look at how they got to the place that they are. They're living up to expectations that were not even theirs to start with. Somebody gave them or imposed these things on them, and now they're trying to live it out, basically live out somebody else's dream. It's just like a child whose father is encouraging them to play baseball and be
mhm,
successful at it, but the father wasn't successful at it. Their career got cut short. So now the father's trying to live vicariously through the son and putting pressure on the son to be the baseball player that the father could never be. That's
mhm,
unfair and unreasonable. And we do that
yeah.
a lot in life. We let people speak over us. We listen to these voices and we allow people to have access to us that shouldn't have that, who may not have our best interests at heart or may not fully understand who we are as people ourselves. We let them talk over us and we enlarge our capacity and include all the junk they want to give us. I don't have a problem with enlarging your capacity. I think it's a great idea, but within limits. At the end of the day, we can't pour into it from an empty cup. We can build a bigger cup. We can get a bigger cup.
Yeah. Yeah.
We can have more capacity to do things, but it's just really wise and discipline comes in here too, as does mental health. adult entrepreneurship, that we scale down what matters to us the most, and we focus and do those things. And I believe that we'll be successful as anybody else. We'll be focusing on the things that matter, major on the majors and minor on the minors.
Yeah, beautifully said, Mr. Yu. Beautifully. And yeah, if our listeners they would like to get in touch with you, listen to your podcast, what would be the best way?
So many ways. I have to, yeah, in the show notes, but I have a link tree and 4 different podcasts you can reach out to. But the best way to get all 4 podcasts at the same time is they call me Mr. Yu, MistaYu .buzzsprout.com. That will give you the link to all of the shows, and you can hear all the seasons all the way back to 2020 when we first started our brand. So they call me Mr. U. Buzzsprout.com. We'll give you access to all of the shows. We have a YouTube channel. We're on all the socials and all the listening platforms. You can find any one of our 4 shows anytime you want to
Oh,
hear us. And of course, there's a opportunity for you to reach out to me as well. I have a link tree and landing page, link tree that you can reach out to me via socials, or if you want to reach out for any kind of coaching advice, happy to talk to you.
wonderful. Listeners, I'll have all these details and links in the show notes for all of you. And let's land this together. We came for tactics, we leave with a template. Simple habits, standards with softness, service as a filter, repair as a reflex, and courage with constraints. So, Mr. Yu, thank you so much
Thank you.
for honesty and the blueprint. Thank you. This was much, much needed.
Thank you very much for your time. I appreciate this, and you got a great show and a great audience too. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. And to everyone here tuning in, pick one habit that you can't talk yourself out of it and start it before the sun sets. Then tell someone you trust. Until then, this is BizBlend with Sana, where business meets being human. Thank you.